Something I haven't heard a lot of conversation about is first-person shooters and boss battles. When I come to think about it, very little comes to mind in terms of memorable first-person shooter boss battles. Really, I can think of some ones that I really didn't like. Doom's Icon of Sin, I remember the first time I got there, I had no idea what to do for, I think, a week or two. I mean, granted, I was about 10 or 11 years old, but it was very confusing. It wasn't a clear defined boss. It was pretty bad. It was basically just a room with a hole you're supposed to shoot at, which is in my opinion, a great game with a horrible boss battle. Quake's Shub Nagruth is really no better. The way you kill him is by telefragging him, which isn't obvious, and it isn't something that the game really instructs you to do. It's just something you kind of luckily stumble across. Another confusing, kind of terrible boss battle. The original Half-Life's Nihilinth in Zen is another pretty terrible example of a first-person shooter boss battle from the legacy 90s first-person shooter games. All of these battles left a lot to be desired, and I think because of this, in the 21st century, we see a shift away from boss battles and really more in favor of set-piece encounters with lots of enemies, maybe lots of tanks and helicopters coming on you at once. Some of these are really good. We can think of Half-Life 2 Episode 2 with its Strider battle at the end as a really excellent example of a set-piece encounter that does a lot of the things that I would hope a really good boss battle would do. It forces you to use your skills that you've learned over the course of the game in new and interesting ways, and it puts a lot of stress on the player, and it's a fun encounter. But there's something to be said about a big bad, a boss battle. And the best boss battles are like video game final exams. It's a chance for you to put to use all the skills you've picked up over the course of the game and, try and employ them under trying circumstances. Now, modern shooter mechanics don't really make it easy to make fun boss battles. And the reason for this is that modern shooter mechanics revolve largely around cover-based fire, so you're constantly moving from cover to cover, and you're aiming down the sights, but the movement speed is so slow and the player mobility is so limited that there just isn't enough tools in the player's toolkit to give them the ability to fight a big boss battle in a fun and interesting way. And we see this going all the way back to like Hans Gross on E1M9 in the original Wolfenstein 3D. You kind of move around an arena room and you just move behind cover, plink at him, move behind cover, plink at him until he's dead. And it's not a terrible formula, but it's not particularly fun either. This is why I was so surprised when the new Doom games came out, that for the first time in really the entire history of first-person shooters that I can think of, we had really compelling and engaging and fun, challenging boss battles. I felt like the boss battles in the new Doom game had more in common with, say, Dark Souls or Ninja Gaiden than they did with Half-Life or Quake or Call of Duty, which is great. And the main reason for this is they gave us an incredible amount of mobility. You can double jump, you can jump to the side, you can move around just enough to sort of contend with the big bad. So it's one of the most impressive things, I think, about the new Doom game, because it really opens up a new path and sort of eschews the old style of moving from cover to cover and plinking out this tank of a monstrosity that I don't think was a fun way to fight boss battles. The new model that Doom gives us is something much more akin to Dark Souls or Ninja Gaiden, as I said, or really any number of 8-bit video games. By giving back player mobility and reintroducing a sort of non-realistic movement set into first-person shooters, we're opening the doors for all sorts of new possibilities, particularly with new boss battles. And I think we could be, hopefully, looking forward to a new era where first-person shooter boss battles don't suck anymore. And I think that's pretty fucking cool. Let me know, what did you think of the boss battles in Doom? Did I leave out any awesome boss battles from other shooter games? What was your favorite first-person shooter boss battle? If you liked this video, please feel free to like and subscribe. If you hated this video, thumbs down. Leave me comments. You can find me on Twitter at NoMediaEver. Thanks for tuning in.